first thing I learned is that as Christians, we spend the first several years of our journey dying to those parts of ourselves we consider to be bad. We work to die to the greedy self, the sexually immoral self, the profane self, the lying, stealing, cheating self. Jesus calls us to die to ourselves every day and follow him. We get that. The self we spend the first leg of our journey dying to, though, is the non-ideal self. What we fail to realize is that the most important self to die to is actually not the non-ideal self. It's the ideal self. And here's why. The greatest competitor to the throne within your heart, it's not something external. It's that part of you that you take the most pride in. That idealized, virtuous image of yourself. That's what your heart idolizes more than anything else. This person's been called a lot of different things by theologians, the false self, the deceived self. I call the self the idolized self. Some of you might be thinking, hey, this sounds like a pretty benign thing, but it's actually a serious heart condition. Having an idolized self affects the way that you see people, it affects the way you feel toward people, and it greatly affects the experience of God in your life. Let me explain. I want you to just pretend, if you would, that you see yourself as this person. I am hardworking, smart, good person, made for something big. I'm self-made, caring, and independent. Now, everyone's idolized self is a slightly different self, okay? It's a different list that makes us up, and I need to qualify this. The problem isn't that you are any of these things. It's that these things have become an idol in your life, commandeering the throne of your heart. You see, if hypothetically this was your idolized self, you will go to great lengths to prove and to protect this idol to yourself and to the world. One of the ways that you know this person has become an idol is when you start to validate this person by devalidating or judging others. In fact, the best way for you to know what few statements might make up your idolized self is to pay attention to what you judge in others most often. You see, if you often find yourself judging people for being lazy, it probably means you've begun to idolize this part of you. If you regularly find yourself judging people who aren't the sharpest knives in the drawer, you've probably started to idolize this part of you. If you find yourself judging those who are immoral, you're starting to idolize this. If you find yourself often judging kind of leeches and tag-alongs, you probably idolize the self-made part of you. If caring, you probably often judge those who are insensitive. If you idolize yourself as an independent person, you probably often are judging needy people. You get the point. The things that we most often look down upon others for betray the image of ourselves that we need to look up at. See, we actually need to see others as failing in the exact areas we pride ourselves in order to validate the idolized self. We become judgmental people as a result of our attachment to this guy. Furthermore, the idolized self affects the way we react, the way that we respond to people. You see, our whole value and worth as people gets attached to this. And so we have to protect and preserve it at all costs. And anyone that threatens this image becomes an enemy to us. This makes us very prickly people. I'll give you a couple scenarios. A boss asks this guy, the hardworking guy, what he's working on, but what he's going to hear is an accusation that he's lazy. Ooh, boss just poked the bear. Prickly response on the way. Someone disagrees with this woman at a meeting, but what she's going to perceive is an attack on her intelligence. Again, a prickly response on the way. If a list of tasks comes this person's way at work, this person who sees himself as made for something big, the story they will likely tell themselves is that others are treating them like a peon, not made for something big. You see what happens here. Everyone becomes a potential enemy, and we're constantly triggered by situations when our worth is attached to an idolized self. Give you an example.